How's it going today, everyone? This is Michael from Maui. Aloha. So today I wanted to talk about putting. So one of the most important parts about putting is how do you hold the disc. So when you putt, you'll notice, like if you watch the tournaments, everybody putts flat. Nobody's putting on a hyzer. But putting on a hyzer is pretty common. A lot of us do it as beginners and advanced. I mean, it's always there, putting with that hyzer. You know, the farther away you get from the basket, you know, you get that hyzer putt going. So the number one thing is to learn how to get rid of the hyzer putt and just putt flat. So the first step in learning how to putt flat is holding the disc properly. So when you first hold the disc, you know, the outer rim of the disc sits on top of the pointer finger. It just lays right on top of it. Your pinky tucks into the under rim. So the disc is kind of, you know, the pinky pushing into the back of the rim, pointer fingers just under the rim, and then the other two fingers just fan out. So it's kind of like a fan grip. And then the thumb, just light tension. You know, it's not like throwing a backhand where you put a ton of pressure with your thumb. It just needs to be, you know, enough to hold the disc there, but doesn't need to strangulate it. So just nice pressure with the thumb. But the first thing you'll notice when you're putting, if you take your disc and you just hold it in front of you and you stick it in your hand, like so, you'll notice this is outside's down. When you hold it and your thumb's on top, 12 o'clock, the disc is on a hyzer. That's gonna putt like a hyzer putt. So how do you get the disc to come up to putt flat? Is you have to rotate your wrist so it's up more. So you can see how my palm is facing up. If my disc sits in my hand, you can see with my palm up, I've now raised the outside of the disc. So you want to go, see how it's flat? And if I just turn my palm a little bit, see how it's flatter, you can see how the disc comes up on this outside edge. So you kind of hold it more like that, because when you release the disc, you want your thumb to go to like 3 o'clock. You don't want your thumb to release to 12 o'clock. Because if your thumb is releasing straight up when you release it, it's going to come out on that hyzer. You know, so if you're holding it here and you come out the putt, your disc is going to be low, you know, and the thumb's on top at 12. So if the thumb releases at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, just keeps your palm up. And that's going to release your disc, you know, higher on this outside edge, so you get a flat putt. Also, you got to make sure your wrist isn't cocked up. You know, so your wrist is still flat when you're putting. You know, so if you're setting up and your wrist is up, you know, then you'll kind of putt it with the nose up. And those are the ones where they just kind of flies right over the top of the basket on you. So the wrist still stays down when you're putting, you know, stays flat. So now you got your grip. You roll your palm up a little bit. But the thing that you'll notice when I roll my palm up, it turns my forearm up. So you can see how my forearm is up and my palm is up, and it's holding the outside of the disc above flat. And that's the way you want to release the disc. Because when I come through to throw the disc, it's going to be here. I'm going to release it like that, high. And the disc is going to come out of your hands with a little bit up, or it's going to come out flat. But you're not going to have the hyzer in the putt. The other The other trick I think that people aren't telling everybody is it's not a throw like you would throw the disc. Like when you throw a backhand, you know how you snap your wrist. A putt is pushed with your bottom fingers. So when you're putting, your bottom fingers push the disc. So your fingers, because you can see when I'm holding the disc, my fingers are pointing at 9 o'clock. When I putt, I'm gonna push my fingers to 12 o'clock, facing the basket. And that's where the power of the putt comes from. The power of the putt is this, not this. So you can see the back of my hand coming in, but when you putt, you want to be flat this way when you putt. So the angle's different. So that's why, a lot of times, like you'll notice when the pros putt, you'll notice right when they release the disc, their hand's wide open like that. I used to always wonder why their hand explodes open, but you watch a lot of the pros, they'll get right here and they'll release the disc and their hand's wide open. And that's because they're pushing with the bottom fingers and the thumb is getting out of the way. Like as you push with the bottom fingers, see, as you come through, you're pushing with the bottom fingers, the thumb comes off first, then the fingers. You want to push with your bottom fingers. It's a push with the fingers this way. Just like that. It's not a backhand throw. So sometimes, like if you hold the disc really loose and kind of feel it on your bottom fingers, like if you hold it real loose, don't hold a lot of pressure with your thumb. You can kind of feel it sitting, the disc is sitting on my fingers. So I have it in my hands, but I could kind of loosen my hand and I could feel the weight of the disc on my bottom fingers. And that's kind of the feel you want, because the throw is from those fingers underneath by pushing the disc like that. So when you push, it's just that right there, push with the fingers and you push and the hand flies open. But when you throw the putt, your thumb needs to end at like 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock. So that meant you kept your palm flat. So when you're putting, it's real important to make sure, as you come up to make that putt and you putt, that your thumb stays to the right, because that'll give you a flat putt. So when you're setting up, you're here, hold the disc a little higher on this outside, palms up. And then when you putt, you come through, pushing with the bottom fingers. That light tension that you have on your thumb helps, the fingers push. You can see how, like my thumb is on top, but you can see how I'm pushing the disc with my fingers. So, if I hold the AVR to the 9 o'clock, but you can see how I can push it to 12 o'clock with my fingers. So here, push forward, 12 o'clock. That is what you're doing. So, light pressure with your thumb, your bottom fingers push the disc forward. But you can see how I'm rotating it from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And that's the putt. 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And I'm doing that by just rotating my fingers flat, not backhand. So anyways, I hope that helps describe what your wrist is doing. I'm going to make videos talking about the arms and the legs and everything else. But for now, I think it's just important to get your wrist set. Make sure it stays there. Like when you come backwards on your putt, don't rotate it out to where the thumb's on top. So it's an easy gauge. If your thumb's on top, that's wrong. Thumb pointing at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, that's right. So all you got to do is look at your hand and just look where your thumb is pointing. 12 o'clock, you're going to putt a Hyzer. 2 o'clock, you're going to putt it better, flat. So anyways, this is Michael from Maui. Aloha.